Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to take a look at the Riotoro CR500TG. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at this lovely looking tempered glass side panelled PC chassis. Now this is from a company called Riotoro, relative newcomer on the market. Very good quality stuff, and so far from what I've seen of it, I've had a quick unboxing and look through to get some B-roll for this video, so I already know quite a lot about this case and what it can and can't do. But from my initial look, I haven't built it yet, which I will be doing soon, so if you want to see the build actually, click on the subscribe button, click on the chime button, and when I start doing the build in this, I'm going to be doing a red and black theme build in honour of our Riotoro branding. So yeah, you can keep up to date and see how that goes. But at the moment it's looking like it's going to be a fantastic chassis to work with. So features wise, we've got a lovely full-size tempered glass side panel window, which is held on with really nice rubber mountings, so you can undo all of the screws and it isn't going to just fall off onto the floor, onto your desktop or wherever and cause any damage. It's really well secured. There is actually, I did notice on the back of the glass, there is a kind of like an air gap that goes right the way down the back. Now whether that's going to be good or not, depending if you've got positive or negative airflow, depends on your setup I guess, but that could cause an issue for getting dust inside the chassis, which is odd really, because they've spent a lot of time and effort putting filters on pretty much everything that they possibly could in this chassis. So talking of the filters, on the front, the front mesh panel is basically one giant filter, and behind there you've got the option to mount either 1, 2 or 3 120mm fans or 2 140s, or obviously radiator of your choice, anything up to 240mm. You could mount it in front of the grill, in front of the chassis, behind the grill, or behind. Options are open for either way. As standard, it actually comes with 2 fans, which are the Riotoro fans, which are both clear fans, but have got red LEDs in there, again to match in with their theme of red and black. On the sides, both sides, there is another grilled ventilation, so you've got all this massive airflow area on the front. You've also got it on the sides. There's a ventilation on the top, which is a little bit of an odd vent on the top, if I'm honest. It's not big enough to put a fan into, but it has got a mesh, and it actually has got a magnetic filter which you can place up underneath. A little bit of an odd thing there. I would have preferred to have seen more perforations on the top for maybe a 240 radiator, or even a 120 at the back, similar to the NZXT S340, that kind of thing. Filtration wise, so you've got that on the front, you've got a little bit of filtration on the top there. On the base of the chassis, you've got 2 removable metal filters, which will filter air which will be coming up into the intake under here for your hard disks, and at the back for the power supply. And the power supply has got a complete, well, almost complete basement cover, which goes pretty much all the way along. Another nice feature actually of this basement, which I noticed when I was looking at it, right in the very corner there's a little notch cut out. So if you wanted to run a RGB or LED strip along this front area, there is actually a cutout so you can run a cable through there, which I thought was a really nice little touch. I guess you could use it for anything. You could probably even route a PCI Express graphics card cable if you really wanted to. Don't think it would look particularly nice, but you could do that. But I think that is really for RGB LED, which again, if you watch the build video, you'll find out if I actually put one in or not. So filtration wise, on the back there's not a lot of filtration. You've got your normal kind of mesh setup, so no real filtration there. But from the initial setup of how it comes out of the box, you've currently got a positive airflow going on. So 2 fans in the front, 1 in the rear. So 2 bringing in, 1 pulling out. So you're going to have a little bit of positive pressure. So any additional kind of dust or anything is not going to get attracted, and it's probably going to get blown away. So hopefully that's going to keep the glass side panel, keep that nice and clean and clear. Now speaking of which, let's take the side panel off and give you a better look inside the chassis. It's quite sturdy. It's about 5.5, 6 kilos I think, this chassis. So it's not one of your kind of cheapy lightweights. Now speaking of price, actually this is a in the market competitive wise, it's been on Amazon for about £60, which puts it in line with the Cooler Master Box Cooler Master Box 5 and some of the Thermaltake, I think it's the View 21 possibly, so in and around that area For £60, I'm a little bit dubious about whether or not it's value for money. It's a nice looking case, don't get me wrong, and you've got all the features there. I would prefer to see it in the region of sort of £50, maybe £45, which is very good news, because if you look on Amazon and places in the UK like CCL, etc., they are actually retailing this at a lot lower than the Amazon price. So they're retailing in around about £45. So for £45, this is an absolutely fantastic bargain. And when you look at other cases in the £45 bracket, such as the, I would say the Cooler Master Q300L and the Masterbox Lite 3.1, those kind of cases, and the Lite 5 for that matter, this blows them out of the water with features and airflow totally. So the tempered glass side panel, which is a light smoke, so you're still going to be able to see your components behind it, which is a nice touch. I don't like to see the side glass panels being too dark. The previous case I used on this channel was the Colink Stronghold, which was a really nice case, but unfortunately the side glass panel was a little bit too smoked, so you couldn't really see what was going on there too much unless you had some additional lighting to help out. But this looks like it's going to be relatively clear and be able to see what's going on in there. Another nice feature is around the inside, you've got this kind of black coating on the glass, so when you're taking it in and out, you can get your fingerprints all over there, and when you turn it around to the other side, you're not going to have your fingerprints on show, and you can just wipe off the outside. So that, in my mind, is a great idea. Again, with the Colink case, this glass was just a complete sheet of glass, so you have to be really, really careful with fingerprints. So we like that. Okay, so taking a look inside the case, so okay, there's the basement, really nice basement, very strong construction, all steel. Now you've got a rubber grommet in the basement to bring up your PCI Express cables, or whatever cables you choose to do. If you go for some kind of custom water cooling loop, then that leaves options for routing pumps, etc., that kind of thing. You've got this basement area here with the ventilation, like I said before, so if you have a fan on the front blowing air in towards your hard drives, the air can go up there and then come out through and then be exhausted through the chassis, which is quite nice. The rubber grommets are okay, they're relatively strong grommets. They're a little bit loose inside of the cutouts, which can be sometimes a bit of a pain if you're routing cables through, if they've got a tendency to pop out. I don't think they will, but we'll find out again in the build and see how that goes. Also inside the chassis, you've got mounting points for SSDs. Now it's got two specific slots there, SSD, SSD. Actually on the back as well, there are also removable mounting brackets for SSDs, so it's quite flexible in that respect. So if you've got SSDs that you want to show off and you want to have inside the case, then you can mount them on this side. If you've got SSDs which are slightly older or don't match your colour scheme, then it's not a problem, just mount them on the back, they're out of view. Now, talking of keeping things out of view, cable management on this thing is hopefully going to be a breeze by the look of it, because as I say, you've got the rubber grommets, you've got these angled cutouts here, so getting things through like your 24-pin power supply connector isn't going to be no problem at all, and the USB 3 connector, that sort of thing, is going to be really easy to do. Now talking of which, actually I haven't mentioned the I/O. The front I/O, you've got one USB 3.0, two USB 2.0, a reset switch, a power switch, and a couple of LEDs. Now the LEDs and all the wiring, apart from a little tiny bit at the front there, is all been nicely coloured, coded in black cabling, and the USB 3 cable, rather than being quite a round thick cable, is actually quite a flat cable. So that's going to aid cable management, and if it's on a board where, for instance, it's up here, then you can fold the cable around on itself, and it's not going to look out of place, and it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb, basically. So we really like that. You've got a massive cutout in the back for adding aftermarket coolers or making any adjustments to your existing cooler, so lots of access there. Again, which is a really nice feature. I think that's pretty much standard on most cases these days, but again, still nice to see. Now, also on the back here, there's another mounting option for another SSD, so you can run your cables from underneath your motherboard back out through, and you could mount an SSD there, again keeping it out of the way. So you've got loads of options here for mounting SSDs, and actually if you're a little bit creative, I imagine you could probably getting on for 6 SSDs in here. You've got space in the bottom trunk for 2 hard disk drives, and again, if you wanted to, you could populate those caddies with SSDs or laptop style drives quite easily, boosting up the amount of drives you can have in here. So if you're trying to make a NAS or something like that, then again, this is going to be perfect. Despite its small size, it's still going to be able to fit a lot of drives in here. Now going back to the cable management, like I said, you've got flat cables, nice little touches like the fan in the back, black cabling. There's no ketchup and mustard on show here, so that's really nice. and everything's just been done to a really high standard. The case itself is really rigid. The back panel, when you take it off, virtually no flex to it at all. It's very solid. And also in the back you've got quite a lot of room for cable management and routing of cables. So let's go ahead now, we'll take the back panel off so you can have a closer look. So this is billed as being pretty much a toolless design, which at the moment I can totally vouch for, because I haven't had to get a screwdriver out, and I've basically taken the front panels off, the side panel and the rear panel off. The front panel just pops off, so there's no problem there. And actually going back to the front panel quickly, the logo on the front, the Riotoro logo, which I'll show you in some footage here, actually is illuminated, so it illuminates red. So again, carrying on with that red and black theme, if you don't want to have it illuminated and you decide you want to have a different colour scheme in your PC, just don't connect it, which for some people is actually probably going to be a blessing, because if I can find it, the cable for the front panel illumination is that, a Molex. It's 2018. Why are we still using Molex? That could actually be one of the minus points of this entire build. The fact that you'd have to use a Molex connector from your power supply to power that. That is actually quite a letdown. It's not a big deal, but it's, again, one of those little things which can niggle you. But so far, that's the only thing I've found on this case which is a problem. Again, there's the cabling for the front two fans which are included. And 2 hard drive caddies. Again, like I said, 3.5-inch drives or 2.5-inch drives in there, no problem at all. It would have been nice to see a little bit of rubber in there to kind of take out any vibrations for the mechanical drives, but still, it's not the end of the world. It'd be interesting to see actually how much difference it makes putting a mechanical drive in there, whether you do get that kind of resonance going through the chassis. Hopefully, because it's quite a strong, sturdy chassis, there shouldn't be that much resonance, but again, we'll find out in time. So we've got under here, this is where the power supply goes, filtered at the bottom, and you've got a relatively good amount of room there to stick extra cables. So if you're not using a modular power supply, you can hide all the wires out of the way. So from the back here now you can see you've got the SSD mount there, another one there, and these are on thumb screws, so part of that kind of toolless design ethos. Again, nice to see, you don't have to get a screwdriver out, which is a shame, so I've just put some new ones up on the wall there to use, but there you go, can't have it all. You've got EPS pass-through there, which is actually a massive pass-through. You could probably, yeah, you can get 2 fingers in that one, so you should be able to get a 8-pin connector through there, no problem at all. Or obviously, if you want to route some wiring for an RGB fan or whatever it may be, then yeah, plenty of room to do so. And there's no sharp edges, so during the build process, there shouldn't be any trips to the A&E department, which is nice to see. And talking about, there's the cabling. All of the cabling pretty much, apart from those little bits on the end, all coloured black, so it's going to hide or be quite stealthy when you're doing your build. It would have been nice to see those go in sheathed right up to the end or as close to the end as possible, but again, not really a deal breaker. And there's the flat USB cable, so you could quite easily bend that round on itself to give you a very sort of low profile. Now also inside here you get this nice little box from Riotoro, and inside that box I've already taken out actually, you get some cable ties, which is nice to see, and you get a selection of thumb screws and pillar screws, that kind of thing. The pillars in here are actually factory put in and actually fixed into the 9-pin configuration for full-size ETX or a full-size ATX, one of the two. But you get a couple of extra pillars in there, so if you're using micro ATX in this, then that base is covered also. So I think that pretty much wraps up this quick unboxing overlook of the Riotoro CR500 case. I've got to be honest, I'm really excited to build in it. I've got myself a ASRock motherboard, the Fatality K4, and I'm going to be doing an AMD build in here, red and black theme going. So if you want to see how that goes, obviously, like I said before, click on the subscribe button, click on the chime icon, and hopefully if YouTube doesn't mess up the algorithm again, then hopefully you'll get notified when I make a new video. If you want to join us on Discord or Facebook or Twitter, please feel free to do so. The links are in the description. If you like this video and you like my content, then give me a like. If you dislike it, give me a dislike, but put something in the comments and let me know why you disliked it. It's always nice to hear from you, good or bad. So, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and this has been the awesome CR500. Thanks for watching.